Hey, Donald Trump, name me 5 things that you did this week. 1, you posted a bizarre Trump Gaza AI video with bearded men dancing with cleavage hanging out. 2, you gave old redacted Jeffrey Epstein files to MAGA influencers who were holding them up like prize trophies and took selfies with them. And they weren't actually the Epstein files. They were call logs that were released in 2021, which had your name on it. 3, you brought the Tate brothers, who face human trafficking charges, back to the United States from Romania. 4, you backtracked on making IVF free. 5, you went back to Florida to play more golf after humiliating the United States in the Oval Office by attacking President Zelenskyy with J.D. Vance by laundering Russian talking points. So I guess those are the 5 things that you did this week, Donald. By the way, even the Wall Street Journal op-ed was calling out Donald Trump over the past 24 hours. This is from the Wall Street Journal opinion side. Putin wins the Trump-Zelenskyy Oval Office spectacle. Vice President Vance starts a public fight that only helps Russia's dictator. The op-ed goes on to say, why did the vice president try to provoke a public fight? Mr. Vance has been taking to his X.com account in what appears to be an effort to soften up the political ground for a Ukraine surrender, most recently writing off Mr. Putin's brutal invasion as a mere ethnic rivalry. Mr. Vance dressed down Mr. Zelenskyy as if he were a child late for dinner in the Oval Office. He claimed the Ukrainian hadn't been grateful enough for U.S. aid, though he has thanked America countless times for its support. This was not the behavior of a statesman, he goes on to say, and that this has made America far less safe, and that Donald Trump and J.D. Vance were only helping Putin out. So now Trump is returning to Mar-A-Lago for golf this weekend as his approval rating is plummeting, as consumer sentiment is collapsing, as the latest Atlanta Federal Reserve report expects a contraction in the economy by negative 1.5%, which would lead the United States into a recession for the first quarter. Donald Trump admits that inflation is increasing despite promising lower prices on day one. Donald Trump pushed forward the Trump GOP budget scam, which cuts $880 billion from Medicaid while giving $4.5 trillion in tax handouts to billionaires. It also crushes farmers. It also crushes infrastructure projects, but the oligarchs say thank you, Donald Trump. Donald Trump fired hundreds of employees at the weather forecasting agency right before significant storm season's about to start. Donald Trump appointed a MAGA podcaster, Dan Bongino, as FBI director, who calls for ignoring checks and balances. Donald Trump got caught lying about Doge's savings and quietly deleting it with Musk. And Donald Trump is planning to cut a huge portion of the staff of the Social Security Administration, which will likely lead to people not getting their Social Security checks on time. I think this AI image right here of Vladimir Putin walking Donald Trump like a dog probably sums it up best, what we saw in the Oval Office. Let's just go to the Oval Office for a second, where Donald Trump kicked out the Associated Press and replaced the Associated Press with Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend is now the press, and he's in the Oval Office. Brian Glenn asking hard-hitting questions of President Zelenskyy, like, why don't you wear a suit? Do you own a suit? Here, play this clip.
Second question.
My second question for President Zelenskyy.
Why don't you wear a suit? Why don't you wear a suit? You're at the highest level in this country's office, and you refuse to wear a suit. Just want to see if do you own a suit?
Yeah, problems.
A lot of Americans have problems with you not
Really?
respecting.
I don't have
the
such.
office.
I will wear a costume after this war will finish.
Okay.
Yes, maybe one.
Maybe something
maybe
like this.
something like
Yes,
yours.
sir.
Yes.
That'd be great.
Maybe something better. I don't know. We will see. Maybe something cheaper than. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for.
And then we saw sights like this in the Oval Office. Absolutely disgraceful. Donald Trump going to Zelenskyy, you don't have the cards to play. Zelenskyy and Donald Trump continuing to yell at Zelenskyy. I did a whole other video on this, multiple videos on it. So I'm not going to show all of the clips here. I'll just show you a small portion. Play this clip.
Beginning of the war.
You're not in a good position. You don't have the cards right now. With us, you start having cards. Right now, you don't have. You're playing cards. You're playing cards. You're gambling with the lives of millions of people. You're gambling with World War III. You're gambling with World War III.
So then Donald Trump, with his stupid little red hat, walks outside, unkempt, of the Oval Office of the White House. He's standing out there with his hands in his stupid MAGA hat. And Donald Trump is asked, well, what could Zelenskyy have said to you? Like, what do you want to hear him say? And Donald Trump goes, well, he keeps saying this and that about Putin, all this negative stuff about Putin. He shouldn't be talking negative about Putin. Donald, you are Putin's puppet. Here, play this clip.
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay? I get that.
And look, President Zelenskyy was pushing back at Donald Trump, defending himself as a human being, but more importantly, defending Ukraine and frankly, standing up for all democracies in the face of Donald Trump and J.D. Vance's bullying and intimidation tactics. And while Fox which has become state regime media here in the United States, was parroting Putin's talking points and Trump's talking points, Zelenskyy went on Fox. Zelenskyy wasn't backing down. And Zelenskyy, in English is not his first language or even his second language. Zelenskyy goes on Fox and Brett Baer saying, do you want to apologize? Maybe you should just apologize to Donald. And Zelenskyy stands on business. He goes, there's nothing for me to apologize for. I didn't do anything wrong in the Oval Office. By me saying that Putin is a bad person who's trying to kill Ukrainians, I was standing up for Ukraine. That's what was going down. Here, play this clip.
Fire during all these years, 10 years.
So I'm not hearing from you, Mr. President, a thought that you owe the president an apology.
No, I respect President and I respect American people. And if, I think that we have to be very open and very honest. And I'm not sure that we did something bad. I think maybe sometimes some things we have to discuss out of media, with all respect to democracy and to free media. But there are things where we have to understand the position of Ukraine and Ukrainians. And I think that is the most important thing. Yes.
As we said on the MeidasTouch YouTube channel before, and as we posted on our social media platforms, this is what J.D. Vance was wearing in law school. This is a real photo. As we said, there were certainly signs where J.D. Vance sided in all of this. World leaders, though, of democracies, that is, raced to the defense of Vladimir Zelenskyy. Statements like this. EU's chief diplomat said, quote, the free world needs a new leader after Trump's Zelenskyy meeting. Here were statements from all of these world leaders everywhere from Canada to Europe to Australia. All the world leaders, the European Union, all standing strong in supporting President Zelenskyy. Now let's compare that with the cabinet statements that were being made by Trump's cabinets. I mean, Kim Jong-un couldn't script this any better. As our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, writes, the talking point went out to Kim Jong-un's cabinet. Praise your orange god. Secretary of State Marco Rubio goes, thank you, POTUS, for standing up to America in a way that no president has ever had the courage to do before. Thank you for putting America first. America's with you. Secretary of Treasury Scott Bessent goes, thank you, President Trump, for standing up to the American people and for our nation on the global stage. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy goes, thank you, President Donald Trump, for standing up for the United States. The American people will not stand for disrespect of our president, our Oval Office, of our generous taxpayers. Peace is only accomplished through strength, and our allies need to understand that. Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem goes, I am so proud of our Commander-in-Chief. Thank you, Donald Trump. And thank you, Vice President, for standing up for America. Then this was blasted on state regime media, aka Fox. Laura Ingraham calls Zelenskyy a little gnat. Here, play this clip.
Zelenskyy was like an annoying gnat. He never shut up in camouflage. But by about...
Here's the chart, by the way, showing, this is from the Atlanta Fed, showing the significant contraction in our economy. And what was Donald Trump doing as he was heading to Mar-A-Lago to play golf? He's sending emails like this to his supporters. I subscribe to his email so you don't have to. Ben, I need you. There's only 24 hours until my deadline. Deadline for what? The campaign's over. He's still grifting off of his supporters. Ben, I need you. Look, Ben, my end of the month fundraising deadline is less than 24 hours away, and failing to meet this goal would be really, really bad. Trust me, you don't want to know what could happen. It would not be good. What the hell is he even saying here? As I mentioned at the outset, consumer sentiment is down. As I mentioned at the outset from the Telegraph, top economists are predicting that the United States is in serious jeopardy of falling into a recession. As I mentioned at the outset, the destruction essentially of the NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, which is responsible for providing weather watches and warnings, monitoring and studying Earth's climate, as well as operating weather satellites and protecting marine life, is getting gutted. That's very problematic to our safety for obvious reasons. 7,000 jobs likely being cut at the Social Security Administration, prompting fears that you won't get your Social Security checks. And we're also learning that consumers are spending far less right now than they really have in a very long time. Quote, the steep fall in consumer confidence, which peaked in November when Donald Trump won the election, may be translating into cooler spending. Article in Barron's right there. So do me a favor, hit subscribe. Let's get to 5 million subscribers, and thank you so much for watching.
Can't get enough Meidas? Check out the Meidas Plus Substack for ad-free articles, reports, podcasts, daily recaps from Ron Filipkowski, and more. Sign up for free now at MeidasPlus.com.